Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
You should have waited. You should have... Sometimes there isn't a way out. Right. Is this the first time you lost a soldier? We are not soldiers.
We lost. All of us. You lost friends. You lost family. We lost a part of ourselves.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. Big news. There was a whole bunch of Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, and just MCU stuff that dropped this morning. You also probably heard about the interview Kevin Feige did talking about the X-Men Fox Disney deal closing much earlier and some of their plans that are going on behind the scenes right now. So we'll break it all down. There's giveaway stuff at the end of the video, but I'm going to play that clip of Kevin Feige talking about Fox Disney X-Men deal and the overflow with Disney Plus and all the extra MCU projects that won't be movies but will make it to that Disney Plus streaming service. He also talks a little bit about Stan Lee as well, too, so I'll include that.
Whenever we announce a slate, we haven't done it now for 4 years or so, but we did a big event at the El Capitan Theater, I think it was 4 years ago.
2014, yeah.
Yeah, where we announced, I can't remember exactly, but 10 movies maybe? Mm-hmm. And I did a little Q&A with press afterwards. Mm-hmm. The first 5 questions were, what about this character? What about this other character? Well, what about this movie? And I thought, well, wait a minute. We just announced 10 or whatever it was, new movies. Isn't that enough? And what's amazing is no,
it's not.
It's not enough.
There's a huge appetite,
which goes to how many great characters there are in these comics.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of them. I can't remember what the official word is of 8,000 characters or 10,000. Could they all be movies? No, of course not. But could 100? Maybe. And so many different types. That's why the Earthbound stories that we've done, getting to a cosmic space was always very important to me. I'm a big fan of science fiction and outer space movies, which now we've done. The supernatural side, metaphysical side of things with the Doctor Strange universe, and there's still others that we haven't tapped into yet in terms of genre plays, which is what we always like to do. So there's lots there. The notion of the characters that had previously been under a Fox agreement coming back is great. Number one, it's nice when a company that created all these characters can have access to all those characters. It's unusual not to. Mm-hmm. Marvel's been in a unique position to not have access to the characters in a long time. And for me, going full circle to our conversation, that's where I started. Mm-hmm. That's where I started, almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah. So
it's exciting. But in terms of actually thinking about it and actually planning things, we haven't started that yet. But we've been told it's looking very good and could happen in the first 6 months of next year. He was very special, and I've always said, anybody who met Stan, I've never heard one story of somebody meeting Stan and not being overwhelmed. And I was lucky enough to see him about 10 days before he passed away. Coincidentally, went to his house to see him. In some ways, I never thought this day would come. I thought he'd be going. Kirk Douglas just turned 102. I thought Stan was going to be there and literally outlive all of us. And in the same ways, it doesn't seem like he's gone, because just like Walt Disney on this lot, mm-hmm. his influence will never go away.
He is immortal because these characters aren't going anywhere.
Sure.
So, yeah,
exactly
absolutely.
Right.
So he says a whole lot during that. That's like a fraction of the actual full interview that he did. There was a big Variety podcast that he did recently where he talks about his beginnings in the industry. He mentioned Jeff Johns when he was working for the Donners as an intern before he became a PA, then talking about the early X-Men films when he was in the industry. But the important stuff, the takeaway from this, is that recently MSNBC and a couple of other news outlets were reporting that the Fox-Disney deal might be done as early as the end of January. I'm not expecting it to be done that fast. If Kevin Feige says the first 6 months, that's probably a conservative estimate, so probably sometime before that, like between Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame, whereas previously I wouldn't have said till much later in the year. But the funny thing about that is just as Kevin Feige is ramping up to make MCU X-Men films, the Dark Phoenix people will be hitting their press tour to promote their film, which is coming out during the summer. All while we're still dissecting Avengers Endgame in the end of their 10-year journey. So there's going to be so much big Marvel and X-Men stuff happening between March and July. It's going to be crazy. Side note takeaway too, because he says that it's not going to be till the first 6 months, that probably means we're not going to see a whole lot of X-Men stuff happening during Avengers Endgame, so just couch your expectations in terms of post-credit scenes. Think more along the lines of future sequels, like Black Panther sequels, the Eternals movie, other things that they've started to talk about and already confirmed for Phase 4. Pretty easy assumption to make that there will be some plot twists during Avengers Endgame that will allow for the explanation for how X-Men can exist within the MCU. So we'll talk about that when we start getting more trailers. There was new promo art for Avengers Endgame that just posted. Iron Man in his gold comic book looking armor. It's really just an iteration of his Infinity War armor with the gold arms made to look more like his classic comic book armor. Even though this looks kind of weird, it is technically official promo art. This is going to be going on a lot of merchandising stuff that they'll be promoting the film with. So Hulk wearing that special armor that we saw him in the other promo art, just seeming to corroborate that he'll actually be wearing a special suit that will expand when he hulks out. I've seen a lot of people speculating about this piece of Iron Man art, thinking that he's wearing a different suit of armor just because the neckline and the shoulders look a little bit different. They're colored differently from his Infinity War armor and from this gold armor. So yes, it is totally possible that Iron Man wears multiple different suits. There was a list of Lego toys that just posted for the sets that they're going to be making for the movie, and one of them just happened to be Iron Man's armory. So a lot of people are just expecting this concept art to be a real thing during Endgame, because we didn't see anything like this during Infinity War. Remember when they released the very first teaser for Infinity War, and it was them behind the scenes, and there was a bunch of concept art. We saw Thor and Rocket fighting the Midgard serpent, wielding Yarbjorn, his axe from the comics. So obviously there were a lot of changes between the concept phase before they actually got to the final cut of the film. But even though some of the translations on these sort of break the sentences so they don't quite make sense, you can kind of pick out what they're trying to imply here. Captain America, Attack of the Outrider, that's just more Outriders like the dogs with the 4 arms that they fought during Infinity War from the comics. War Machine Crusher makes it sound more like his armor has some badass function during Endgame that we haven't seen yet, or it could be him being crushed by some large contraption because it's meant to be a giant Lego set, not just a single figure. But then obviously Iron Man Armor Room, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's been a while since we've seen one of Iron Man's armories, so you have to imagine in the time jump between when now and Endgame happens in the timeline, he's probably made a couple more suits. Right now, Avengers Super Quinjet just sounds like it's a much more heavily armored version of a regular Quinjet. We do know that because Hulk went to Sakaar in a regular Quinjet, they're already capable of flying in space. The last one, which is supposed to be the biggest Lego set, sounds like it's their big final battle against Thanos, whatever that's going to look like. That's usually when they embellish a little bit. Like, I would just assume that most of the characters that show up during this show up during that scene during the movie, but the way that they present it when you see the toy might not be exactly the way the scene goes down in the movie. I know there's a bunch of Spider-Man Far From Home toys on here too, Molten Man, Hydro Man, Stark's plane, Drone Attack. I'll talk about that when I do another Spider-Man Far From Home video. There was just a lot of news that dropped this morning. This is a much better picture of Hawkeye's Ronin costume from the front because we only see it from the back in the trailer. So a lot of this stuff mostly just corroborates earlier concept art that we've seen. But remember, if you saw any of the deleted scene videos that I did for Infinity War, there is a lot of different types of concept art that they did that did not actually make the final cut of the film. Like Kevin Feige says, they've been working on Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame for the last 5 years, so don't be surprised if some of the stuff you see in the concept art and the promos only winds up making it on screen for a couple seconds. Like, characters will get multiple costumes. We've already seen Captain America go through 2 separate costume changes in the recent Avengers Endgame trailer, in the Infinity War suit that he's been ripped up, the scale armor underneath that, and in the Winter Soldier stealth suit. Remember, a lot of that footage is probably just from the first 20 minutes of the movie so as to avoid a lot of big spoilers, so that's only the beginning of Avengers costume changes. But also really special news, speaking of the first 20 minutes of the movie, the Russo brothers and Marvel are going to be doing an early fan screening of Avengers Endgame way before anybody else gets to see it at St. Andrews University, probably sometime in early April, because the movie's coming out at the end of April. But if you remember, they did the same thing for Infinity War. They only screened about the first 20 minutes of the film. It wasn't that spoilery, and it was mostly to head off certain spoilers at the past. So if you do live around that area, there's a pretty good chance you see a chunk of the film before anyone else. Whatever ends up happening, I'll totally do a breakdown video of it. But obviously, there's going to be a lot more trailers before then. We have all the Captain Marvel stuff. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Leave all your requests in the comments below. There'll probably be another Captain Marvel video soon because they confirmed some big details about the characters, especially especially Jude Law's mystery character, quote unquote. We finally found out for real who he is, although I think that Marvel's still kind of being misleading, so I'll talk about that during my next Captain Marvel video. There is a new round of that IMAX ticket giveaway too, because it's the holidays. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Avengers Endgame moment so far on the video. While you wait for everything, click here to rewatch the full Avengers Endgame trailer, and click here for all my new Once Upon a Deadpool post-credit scenes. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.